Even as Volodymyr Zelenskyy has given that very, very stern warning, Belarus will today be hosting the third round of talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegation. Now, two rounds of talks so far have failed to yield any results between the two warring nations.
Said that Russia's military operation in Ukraine can be suspended only if Kyiv ceases military actions and fulfills Moscow's demands. I'm joined by Times Network's National Affairs Editor Srinjoy Chowdhury for more on this. Srinjoy, there is, likely that a third round of talks might take place between Ukraine and Russia today. But honestly, coming off the fact that the humanitarian corridors which had been decided in the second round of talks did not really work out, is there a lot to look forward to in this round?
Well, there's a lot to hope for, certainly. And the most important thing that could happen is really a ceasefire. This is something India has been speaking about a lot too. Have a ceasefire, have an immediate cessation of hostilities, and then look at a diplomatic dialogue. That is exactly what India is looking at. And the world is talking about a ceasefire. Let's not forget that everybody, whether it's the French, whether it's the Israelis, whether it's the Germans, they have all been in touch with both sides, and the effort is to ensure that there is at least some kind of cessation of hostilities, that a ceasefire happens and that life goes on. Now, the point is there are certain things that the Russians are saying, that the Ukrainians should stop fighting. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean surrender? Does it mean a ceasefire? These are things that all of these things have to be worked out when these discussions happen. Already the Russians control a large portion of Ukraine. They have destroyed a large portion of its infrastructure, whether it's airfields and so on. It also has taken charge of certain nuclear power plants. So already the Ukraine has shrunk as a country. The Russians control a large part of it. We will have to see where things go from here, if there is any forward movement. The most important thing for India is actually either a temporary ceasefire or at least these corridors that you spoke of, which were worked out last time only in two areas. But the corridor that India is hoping for is in Sumy, where there are about 600 Indians who can actually be pulled out.
Right, Srinjoy, in fact, I was coming to exactly that. And this has come in right after that ample warning by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, where he has put it on record that, shooting at unarmed civilians really would not be forgiven. And remember, like you rightly said, 700 to 600 people who are still stranded in Sumy, they have to be evacuated when it comes to the Indian evacuation process is concerned, because we're talking about the Indian citizens over here. So that is still stuck. The catch-22 situation still remains, because that entire corridor, that safe passage that both Ukraine and Russia were supposed to provide, is missing.
Yes, India has asked for a safe corridor. That has not happened. The important point here to note is that at this point, these 700 people are in two places and they are being considered reasonably safe. Yes, of course, there are difficulties. They can hear fighting in the background. But it will be much more dangerous for a convoy of, say, 10 buses or 15 buses to move from that area all the way to either the east, where the Russians are, or the west, where there are enough Indian diplomats. In fact, there are enough Indian diplomats on both sides. But the important thing are those 50 kilometers, those 60 kilometers. As I've said before, one sniper can make a difference. If you have one sniper shooting up one bus, it will create an enormous tragedy. So that is really the problem. They are safer where they are, is the assessment of the Indian government. And as long as they are there, they will be reasonably safe, at least in much less danger than if they were driving in a bus, a convoy of 10 or 15 buses over these 50 kilometers, because there are Ukrainians, there are Russians, there are, as the Indian government says, contact points, means where the fighting is going on. So to go through these contact points You need a ceasefire. And where is the ceasefire? There isn't one.
Right, Srinjoy Chowdhury there. Thank you so much for bringing us that perspective.